Our colors clash.
Oh, man.
I need to bring a little light to this. You know what I mean?
Cutting back and forth.
Are we back on?
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
We've been on.
Oh, shit.
Everybody's hearing our shit.
You and I are very funny people. We're on a very like serious topic right now.
We're just kind of going with the flow of life.
I'm just flowing, you know? Anyone that disrupts my flow can beep off.
Yeah.
Anybody that disrupts my flow can
You know,
cut it out. I'm telling you,
sure.
I'm like the scissors right now. Boop, 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 boop. Is it negative? Get out.
Marielle Scissorhands.
Which brings me to which brings me to a topic that actually I do want to talk about the people you're around. Holy crap, does that affect you? It really affects me. But the people that you're around is so crucial. Do you agree with that?
I definitely agree with it.
Yeah.
I think we always come back to that one famous saying is that if you want to be a millionaire, surround yourself around millionaires.
Yep.
And it's just the people you surround yourself around, they're going to have the worst influence on you, whether you think it or not.
Yep. Yeah.
And we need to be more mindful of who we're letting into our life and who has access to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Who has access to us is very, very important.
I still kind of struggle with that, honestly, because I love helping people and I love people and I have so many different types of friends. But I've noticed that when I tell people like, hey, like I don't have the capacity for this right now or something, I'll notice like, you know, what someone's reaction is. And it, you know, it kind of,
it's almost like a test.
it is because I think people think that, you know, someone should be there for you at all times, but everyone's going through stuff. You know, sometimes like I'm not having the best day. Like I'm not like, you know, Miss Positive bopping around 100% of the time. Like I'm human too. Like I have a lot of emotions also. So it's like, it's interesting to see certain people's reactions when I'm very upfront, like, hey, like, you know, I can't really like talk about this today or whatever it is. Depends on the way you say it. But
I think it depends on the way you say it, but it just also depends on how it's like given back to you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? There's some people, like very apologetic, and there's other people like, okay, whatever. And when they go to the defense side of things, you got to remember that person's being very selfish because you got to remember they're putting their information out there, and some of that information might make people feel uncomfortable.
Yep, 100%.
I've definitely had people like that in my life.
Yeah, but friendships are supposed to be two ways.
For sure.
Same thing with relationships.
Yes.
It takes two to tango for everything. But I don't want to be somebody in friendships or relationships or everything that's just giving.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting nothing in return. I mean, you got to have people that are on the same level and you just balance each other and you know, it's a friendship, it's a relationship. And I feel like the better friendships I have, the more it's just easy, you know? It doesn't feel like me being therapist Marielle. And, you know, a lot of people and friends that I've had in the past when I was younger and I would just give myself to people all the time and then, you know, sacrifice myself.
Yeah. And
And then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm drained right now. But, you know, I realized that. Go ahead.
there's people taking energy just to take it.
I know. And it took me a really long time to get to that point. But I'm so aware of my emotions that when someone's just draining me, you know, how do you feel when you're drained? From a person, how do you feel?
I don't feel good about myself, and that shouldn't. And that's from, again, when you're a caring person and you're very in tune with your emotions, the one thing is when you hear a bad thing come from somebody that's close to you or a friend of yours, it might make the rest of your day go off because you're just like, wow, like, again, because it's not even happening to you.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you know, I'm going through a divorce right now. And you're just like, you're more stressed out about the divorce than them because you're hearing all the shit that's going on.
Exactly. And it's called emotional dumping.
Yeah.
And here's where my psychology major comes in because you can't just, it's rumination.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do it, you know, and don't even realize what that term means. And rumination is basically just going through something hard and saying it over and over and over and over and over again because you're trying to process it, but you're not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
You're not like letting that, you know, out of your body. You're not talking about it with anybody, but you're not fixing anything. So you keep saying it over and over and over again. And then that person who constantly listens to you is taking everything on. And then you end up being the one drained and they probably feel a little lighter and better after because they got everything out. But you're the one that took the emotions in, especially if you're an empathetic person. So those people at that point, I mean, I'm, you know, huge on therapy. And I was telling you, like, I did realize moving from the East Coast to the West Coast that there are so many people in therapy in the West Coast. And I love that because
They're seeking help.
absolutely. And it's not like you have to go through some crazy shit in life to be in therapy. Everybody benefits from therapy. And I just want to break that stigma so bad because it is so, if you don't process things, it could be anything. that hurts you in your life. You
just
got in a car
feel-
accident, it stays in you. You have to get it
Yes.
out, you know? So
Do you agree that like the East Coast is more in denial than the West Coast when it comes to mental health?
150%.
I think it's just, I think,
Yes.
to be honest, the only connection I can really have with this, and this sounds funny, but it's marijuana was legalized in the West Coast very soon. And there was a lot of people that, again, you got to remember, like back in the 70s and 80s, I don't want to say that's where marijuana originated, but you had a lot of surfer bums, you had a lot of spiritual people, you had a lot of people that were just hanging on the beach, getting the vitamin D that they needed. Like, you know what I mean? So like, you got to remember, like their vibes. It's just like California. We'll get there when we get there. It's their saying. Like when you ever deal with someone that's from the West Coast, they're slow sometimes. And why are they slow getting anywhere?
I got slower out. Yeah.
But
I
again,
was slower.
they're more in tune with everything going on around them. They're more grounded.
Yeah.
Up here, it just seems like people are the exact opposite, where they're just rushing around. They're not taking care of their mental health. They're not taking time to themselves. So in the West Coast, it's just like, hey, slow down, guys.
Yeah. And everyone, it's funny because people think that, I remember people saying, and before I moved to California, people were like, isn't it like really slow out there? And like, not necessarily. I feel like that's the term people say, but I don't know. There's so many factors. I can't pinpoint it to one thing. There's so many things. There's the beach. I mean, you have the sun shining way more than somewhere like here where there's like no vitamin D, and many people are just very deficient in vitamin D, which is very, very crucial supplement to take and be taking if you don't see the sun a lot, because we need the sun. Sun's good for you. But it's just, there's so many factors. People go to California to like pursue their dreams. People go to California to be themselves. I mean, it's literally a melting pot. It's really, expensive out there. So that changes the trajectory of a lot of things because you kind of have to work harder. But I will say that the slowness, what I have realized is people here will tell you anything about their life. I go to a grocery store, I'm like, hey, how you doing? And somebody just starts telling me like, I'm pissed off about this. And I'm like, whoa. And honestly, in California, I missed that because in California, I really couldn't gauge. And like, I'm like, no one tells you anything. It's it's right up here. It's very here. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I have some very deep friendships here. And obviously I was only in California for like a year, but like I met some really great people, but it wasn't like, it was really hard to get people to that deep point. And I feel like I'm somebody that can get people to that point pretty quickly, but it was like harder for me, if that makes sense. But
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it was just very, the two contrasts are very interesting because being in Pennsylvania now, it is so different than California. Being in California, I was like, oh my God, I miss parts of Pennsylvania. So it's like the grass is greener on there's pros and cons to every place. It
depends on what you really want with your life. And like, do you want to pursue certain things? Like, to be honest, if it's like anyone ever says, you're never going to get anywhere if you're in a small pond.
Yeah, and you know what? And
that's Pennsylvania is.
I know. And I want to tell people, it is okay if you want to stay in Pennsylvania. It is a great place. It really is in so many ways. It's beautiful here. Like, there are some great people here. Like, if you like the 9-to-5 lifestyle, it's definitely here. But like, if you don't and you want other things for yourself, then you need to leave, or you're going to feel, going back to mental health, you're going to feel yourself slipping away. And when I was here, I wanted to move to California since I was like 18. I'm so glad I did it. I have no regrets on that end at all. It was one of the best experiences in my life. I really found myself again. Because truthfully, here I was slipping again, in my mind. And they say, when you're in that place in your mind, it's kind of like a jail. And I felt that way.
You just feel so trapped and limited.
Yeah.
And then when you go to another environment, it's almost like you're an open book, and you just say, the possibilities are endless.
You can design your life.
And on top of that, I feel is also, I think you get this anywhere, but I think for me, being outside of Pennsylvania where I grew up, when I would go, to Texas, when I go to Florida, like California, there was so many more opportunities that happened for me because I was just in a different environment.
As soon as I got there, I skyrocketed into everything I was supposed to be.
It's so good for your mental health, number one, because you're already hustling hard because you're in a different environment. You're not where you're supposed to be. And when you're in somewhere that you grew up or you're too used to, you start getting complacent and you start feeling, you don't want to do the extra because, you're like, you already know the outcome of it. But it's not. Your mind's telling you that. But your mind really doesn't know the outcome. So again, I just love, when I'm telling you I loved Vegas, I love Vegas because it was fast. But then you also got people from California there that were just so, like, they were such a vibe. and it was just different. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That the pool parties were different. The people were different.
People were different, yeah.
But
yeah.
there was just, everybody was there for a certain reason. They were all hustling. Nobody,
That's what I'm saying.
Nobody was done working. They were just always hustling.
Yeah, I feel like people, and it's okay if, I don't know, I'm not somebody that's ever been like, you know what I want for my life? I want the American dream, baby. I want to hit 25. I want to be with my, husband, fiance, and I want to have kids when I'm 27, and then I want to buy a house. And you know how disappointing that is, especially right now, honestly,
for sure.
because people thought that that's what like life's going to be, but that's not what life's about. And I truly believe that everybody on this earth has a specific purpose of being here.
For sure.
And a lot of people deep down inside know that they want to do all these things, but they think that it's, very far away or it's a dream. And I honestly thought that for a while. But then you go and do it and you realize it's not a dream. It's just something that you always wanted. So doing those things, listening to yourself is so important. And how do you figure yourself out? I say this all the time. We've talked about this. Being alone. It is really
being alone, and also knowing your surroundings of what you don't want.
Yes.
There's being alone, and then there's being alone by choice because you know what you don't want.
Yes.
And again, there's some people that are attracted to you. There's some people that always come near you that aren't good for you. I was stuck in the situation where I just had people that were just coming back to me that weren't good for me.
Yeah.
And it was affecting my mental health because, deep down they knew that they had me because I was an emotional person, but I also had feelings for them.
Yeah.
Did they have feelings for me? Probably, but they were doing it because they wanted to steal my energy. They were robbing me.
I hate that
They
shit.
were robbing me. And
Don't allow it.
It's
when you
not
feel
even,
it.
It's not even relationships though. It's just friends in general. Like I told you, I was talking to a friend of mine that was going through a breakup, and for months I would call him. Hey man, everything's gonna be okay. It's don't worry about this. You're a great dude. And it took me so long to realize that he wanted his ego filled every morning like his coffee. Mm-hmm. That's all he wanted. Mm-hmm. And literally, he did everything wrong, but he needed that verification. He needed that clarity that he was a great person, but in reality, he was a piece of shit. And that's what's sad about it, is that there are some people that literally just want to be talked to nicely, but they will never do the same to you. They will never support you fully. And again, it's all about them. I started realizing how selfish people were when I took a step back and understood I wasn't getting anything out of this friendship, relationship, partnership, anything.
Yeah, what are you getting? Nothing.
Nothing.
You don't
All I'm getting is my energy
negativity.
Drained. I'm getting everything drained from me.
It's up to you to stop it.
What you always have to think about is that, do you remember when you were a kid, right? This happened with me. When I would play with other kids, I would get so mad when kids would take my toys and just fucking destroy them. Because it's my toy, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not your fucking toy. But you have to think about it this way. No, but again, like, it's just like, having a new pair of shoes. You don't want to get them dirty. But then if somebody else wore them, they get them fucked up.
I just pictured you as like a baby.
Right?
That's why I'm laughing.
You were just so funny.
I just pictured you as like a toddler. And like a little kid's coming up to you. You're like, no.
But think about this this is
I'm back.
This is an analogy that I'll use, is that,
okay,
that little kid had his own toy.
Yeah.
But he chose to use mine, but he didn't take care of it. He fucked it up.
True.
That is somebody taking your energy.
100%.
Keeping their own, but taking yours, not giving a fuck what they do with it. And they're like, oh, it's not mine. Boom.
Yeah, but that's what people
like
that do.
But they have theirs still.
Exactly. That sucks.
So what is the moral of the story is, watch who you give your energy to, because you don't know who is taking care of it. I can give my energy to you. You can baby it. You can take care of it and know, hey, listen, there's a mutual respect with us. Here's my energy, Brandon. Yes. We both are transferring energy, but at the same time, we both understand each other to where we're never taking anything away from that.
Yes. You know what bothers me sometimes? I understand it, but I don't know why. Like, it's kind of been bothering me a little bit recently when people tell me that they need my energy. We need your energy here. We need it. I'm like, that's scary, because people think that, like, because I present myself very positively, and I don't go in public and start complaining to people. I just don't do that. Yeah. Like, it's just not who I am. Like, I feel like I grew up being somebody. It's not gonna make a difference either. Exactly. I don't complain.
But here's the thing: I can only say that is because I did that before. When I went through something,
I used to.
I complained to people
back in the day,
and then I realized, I'm like, first off, 50% of you don't give a fuck, and the other 50 are glad that happened to me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you really, and it really, what did it serve a purpose? Yeah, it was my therapy. I talked to somebody and let it out. But now they have an advantage on me, number one. Number two, they don't care. Number three, I'm still in the same position.
Mm-hmm.
I just let out information that I blabbered. And that's a hard eye opener.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that's a very good thing to bring up, because that took me very long to do. Is like, nobody cares. Like, you can tell your problems to people.
Cares.
Tell it to people maybe that you were very close with, that you know they just want to support you. But not everybody is your friend, and you have to understand that.
And no one's going to save you either, even your friends. No. Your husband's not going to either.
You need to save yourself.
It's up to you. If you want to make a change, it is up to you.
Yes.
It is up to you. You need to do it. You need to put the work in.
And that's the hardest thing. And that's the thing that people, again, I wasn't really babied as a child. So, you know, when you aren't really babied as a child, you see the world a little bit differently. There are some people that, you know, live at the home their entire life, and they're babied, and they're protected by their family. Oh, I don't want the cruel world to get to you. So, like, people don't grow up in that society of knowing that, like, you know, things are going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But if they're protected like that, they're never going to know how it really is in the real world. Is that you?
For sure.
I told you, you're your own writer. You write your own story, but you have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Again, there's some family that are like, oh, blood is thicker than water. I'm not going to lie. Some family members know.
Yeah.
Some family members are out to get you. Just because they're blood doesn't mean that they care for you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, it's a very hard wake-up call for them. And that's how you see people getting taken advantage of. They're like, again, I had a stepfather, and I, you know, growing up as a child, I didn't have a father. Mm-hmm. I wanted a male role model.
Yeah.
He beat on me my life, and you accept the love that's given to you. And I thought that was love.
Yeah.
Being beat on. But the thing is that, like, you're so manipulated until you're away from the situation to know that this isn't right.
Yeah.
And you have to save yourself, because again, this is a very cruel world. And, you know, and the mental aspect of it is you need to take care of your mental sanity from your past. It took me all the way up until I was 28 years old to really cut off that individual and say, there is nothing you've ever done in my life that's benefited me. You made me a strong person. I said, I'll give you that.
I was just going to say that. You can blame positively.
Me such a strong person, because I know my children will never go through this.
Yeah.
I know my wife, whoever I'm with, they will be loved.
Yeah. Well, but positive message comes from that.
So much. Yeah. And some people never recover from that.
I know. And they stay in that cycle.
You need to have a checklist of calling yourself out. To be honest, my social media is airing myself out. Mm-hmm. And some people are like, why would you ever post this? Some girls are like, you'll never get a girl if you post stuff like this. I'm like, that's fine. I'm airing myself out. I'm calling myself out sometimes and saying, I was toxic. I did this. I did that. And I actually overcame it and realized I don't want to be this way. And this isn't trickery. It's not just trying to win people's affection. I severely know the man that I want to be, but I don't want to be toxic.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing for some people to understand. And it's again, I told you this earlier with somebody I was talking to. I cut them off because they're so unaware of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They're not in tune with reality. It's like, what you're doing is wrong. And on top of that, like, hanging out with millionaires, you're going to become a millionaire. If I hang out with dudes that are not good to their wives, that cheat on them, that beat on, whatever it is, I'm going to be associated with that, number one. But number two, I don't want that type of energy around me.
No.
Because if I'm around a bunch of faithful men that I know would never cheat on their wives, I know that's going to rub off on me, and that's the way I want to be. Yeah. But you're around a bunch of fuckboys, you're around a bunch of men that are drinking all the time, that are just like, they hate their wives, they complain about everything. Your life is not going to be happy mentally. You know what I do every morning? You pray. That too now, actually. I do that. I do that at night, actually. But kind of. I mean, I write depending on like what my life is and where my life is at. Yeah. I write little blurbs about like who I'm going to be, because it's already who I am. I mean, I believe that I'm very high up in the fitness industry, because I am. I always have been. Manifesting. Yeah, I mean, but I actually believe it, and that's a huge part of it. You have to believe it, believing it for sure. You don't want to like have something that you are saying that you don't even believe at all. You have to, the emotion has to be tied with it. For sure. But in it, at the end of it, it says that I'm in a community surrounded by athletes, very high up people that challenge me every single day of my life.
and I feel like a little girl laughing with them every single day. Like those are the people that I want to be around. People that like can offer me and teach me all these things that I haven't learned yet. Yeah. People that are better trainers than me, you know, people that are better athletes. I want to be around like top athletes.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to be around, I was an athlete. I was an athlete for a lot of my life. I think that's why I have this mindset, and I always drop this into everything I say, but you learn a lot from being an athlete. And now in like the gym culture, it's just like becoming a thing, and everyone's like thinks that they're a trainer, and they're not. They're just a coach on Instagram or an influencer, or they think that, I know bodybuilding is there's like all these, black and white things about this and a lot of controversy behind it. Bodybuilding's a sport, and I'm not going to say it's not, it is, but it's also not, because I mean, there's different types of sports. People are going to hate that I say that, but I mean, I played like competitive volleyball on a team that traveled with a team when I was young. Like those things get instilled in you. So I think that's another reason why. Exactly. So I look around and it's just all these people that are like, I want this and I want that, but no one wants to do fucking anything about it.
Yeah.
No one wants to do anything. And I empathize with it, but at the same time, I don't, because like I got through really, really hard times. I brought myself out of that stuff. Yeah. Like when I was in hard mental times of my life, like I was on, oh God, you know what subject I want to get on? Big Pharma, man. I want to get on Big Pharma. I'm getting on it. All right. It's
going to be a whole other subject, but we'll put a little bit in here. Yeah.
Okay. What I want to say about Big Pharma is, oh my God, man. When I turned, how old are you when you go to college? 18?
18 or 19. Yeah.
When I turned 18, I went to college and I started having panic attacks. I didn't know why. And it was just because I was younger and my coping mechanisms started coming in and I couldn't handle certain things. I felt out of control. Yeah. I ended up going to the doctor. I was so young and, they put me on medication. And I was like, okay. I went on Lexapro. And then 5 years later passes and I'm on Lexapro and I still had anxiety, depression, all that. And actually I had even worse little other issues happening too.
Yeah.
And it's just such a neck up approach. Like I'm not saying doctors are bad people. Like it's their job to prescribe things. Like there are great doctors. Some people need to be on medication. I've talked about this a lot. So I'm not saying it's all evil, but what I'm trying to say is like, I cannot believe that a business has been made out of depression and anxiety. I can't believe it.
It's a $20 billion
industry.
I
can't believe it. And people think that they care. No. And then everybody goes on this medication. People that come to me and they're like, I still feel the same. I'm like, because it's a Band-Aid once again, and it's neck up. A lot of your serotonin, dopamine comes from your gut.
Yeah.
Your gut. It has nothing to do with your brain. And people say, oh, it's a brain issue. Yeah. And it can be in a certain way. It can be, like I'm not classifying.
Neurologically, there could be some signs of that, but it's coming from, here's the thing. It's also coming from what you eat too. All the pesticides, all the hormones, everything that's going into your body.
Food and exercise.
And a lot of people don't understand that either. It's like, there's so much you can talk about Big Pharma, and we only have 3 minutes left. But
yeah, we could really.
Now we'll do a whole segment on this.
Yeah.
But just regarding back to what you're saying is that, let me put this in simple terms for you. You go to med school, you spend 10 years in school, you have $350K in debt. Now you have your own practice, people working underneath you. What are you going to do? Prescribe medication to people. And again, it's not that you're being a bad person, it's what you were taught, but at the same time, this is what you went to school for, and this is what everyone's doing. Now, here's another thing. A $26 billion industry is diabetes.
Oh yeah, I know.
Diabetes. Yep. If you were to go on the diabetes website.
Oh yeah, get that new shot. How about that new shot for?
Here's the thing. Oh my God. The thing is, there is a statistic done with metformin, which metformin is supposed to help people with diabetes. Now, the biggest thing is they can actually cure diabetes with certain medications, but over a 30-year span of spending all the money on the insulin and everything, they'll end up making $275,000 off of an individual versus just curing them with a $500 medication.
Insane.
And if you go on the actual website for diabetes, if you want to become a diabetic, and listen, don't ever do this. I do not suggest anybody to become a diabetic. I'm just giving an example. If somebody wanted to become a diabetic, go on the website, look at their daily nutrition.
Oh, I saw.
A cup of orange juice,
Lucky Charms.
30 grams of oats. And then
Lucky
that's
Charms.
all carbohydrates though, and that's that's just the breakfast. They're training you to be diabetic, and again, it's like diabetes doesn't exist in some countries.
I know.
And I can see why, but also the pesticides, the stuff that's in our food, man, it's just so insane to think about.
Yeah. So when you think about, when you think about your mental health, think about what you're doing and what you're putting in your body. Like,
for sure.
It will make your body respond in certain ways. If your body's inflamed, you're probably eating a bunch of shit. I mean, just really dialing in and understanding the nutrition and what you put into your body that needs to work, go to sleep. The more that you learn about this stuff, obviously you and I know this stuff, but
I want to do a whole segment on just like
I know.
food and like big pharma, because there's just, but to be honest with everybody here, I want to have the data behind it with articles so that you guys can physically read it.
For sure.
A lot of stuff I do mention, I am learning from other people, but I like to have the data behind it.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know everything we're not here to spread rumors. We're here to just do factual evidence.
Yeah.
We're not, we're trying to save the world, but like we're not going to save it by lying. So with that being said, this segment's going to be over for right now. We're going to see you guys back probably in the next half hour.
Peace.
But I am out of here. Thank you guys.
Bye.